Monogamy is a system that requires one person have sex with one person for the rest of their lives. Till death do them part. My perspective is that that is an injustice to both parties. My perspective is that that is an evil expectation to put on your partner. It is a demand one should never put on another human being. There are very few things in modern life which constitute what I would call freedom. Sexuality is one of those things. And taking away somebody's sexual freedom does not sound like love to me. If you really love somebody, you should be willing to let them have sex with somebody else. You should be willing to accept the discomfort of knowing that your partner has feelings for somebody else. You should not punish them for expressing to you honestly that they like another person, that they want to kiss another person, that they want to hug another person, cuddle with another person, and have sex with another person. I don't think that is evil. I don't think that is immoral. I think the opposite goes against biology. I think it goes against what we as a species are designed for. There is no designer. It's just what evolution created over millions of years. Millions of years of evolution have led to a species which, for better or for worse, is the survival of the species is predicated upon sexuality and reproduction. So, yeah, I really don't think it is fair to limit somebody this way. And if marriage today means being completely monogamous until death do you part, I think I'm against marriage. I think if that means that you'll never be able to have sex with anybody else or even kiss another person, even hold another person's hand romantically, I'm opposed to it. I think it's wrong. I think it's an injustice.
I think a lot of people are shocked when I so casually say in conversation that I think downhill skiing is immoral. Like, it's so outside the range of things that people judge morally in our culture. If I say gambling is immoral, if I say alcohol is immoral, they're not surprised. Downhill skiing? Okay. Boxing. Boxing as a sport, I would like to compare to marriage in the following specific way. If you have a group of men in Israel right now who are receiving military training, that may include boxing of a kind. You learn how to fight with your fists, you learn how to fight with a knife, you learn how to fight with a gun. In the military, there's a certain amount of hand-to-hand combat training that you could call boxing. And if one of the students asks, why do I have to do this? Why are you teaching me this? Or even why are you kind of hurting me? Because there's a certain amount of pain in being trained in the martial arts. Obviously the instructor say, look, kid, this could save your life. Whatever. He could be a middle-aged man. It doesn't matter. Look, you middle-aged man who just signed up to join the army. Look, recruit, this could save your life. It could save someone else's life. This could be the difference between victory and defeat in war. That's why you're learning how to fight with your hands. But when you take that and you make it into a sport, you refer to monogamy as a system, which is quite right. When boxing becomes a system for the entertainment of an audience, one person inflicting permanent brain damage on another, and people even breaking down their bodies through the training, as a kind of entertainment. Now I can say to you, this is something I'm completely morally opposed to, even though I'm not opposed to the same kind of training within the military for that purpose.
That makes sense.
Now, in the same way, what I have to say about marriage, I think you can look at a survivalist scenario 3,000 years ago. And if you guys don't know the ancient author Herodotus, I had a joke with someone in the audience. Someone asked me, whose idea was this polyamory to begin with? Whose idea was polyamory, open relationship? And I said, oh, Herodotus. Blame him. Go back and read Herodotus. You can read about ancient systems of marriage, ancient systems of childbirth, the family survival. Of course, this is a whole discipline within social anthropology. Herodotus is better. Just read Herodotus instead of going to the modern Department of Anthropology. In the same way, you can look at marriage as it existed in ancient periods of time, at periods of time when there was no birth control, when most people did not even understand how pregnancy worked. They didn't understand very basic things about conception, fertility, how to even know who the father was and this kind of thing. Okay, that to me is a little bit like justifying learning how to fight in the military. But that's not the reality of the situation we're in now. What marriage has become, from my perspective, in the modern world, it's perverse in a profound way. The same way that the sport of boxing is a perversion of military training.
That's a very interesting point. Something that I have been thinking is monogamy is something that I wish would be just left in the dark ages. Like, I wish we could just move to a new age in which we see monogamy for what it is. Slavery. It's ultimately choosing to limit your freedom forever until the day you die. And you have only one life. We don't have another life. There is no afterlife. There is no reincarnation. This is it.
There are no virgins waiting for you in heaven after you die. You know a man who bought a wife through a system of arranged marriage, right? And you have another friend, a white woman who was a virgin when she met the man she married, and she's now committed to never have sex with another man until the day she dies.
I was in a monogamous relationship before I met Isel, and I completely regret it. He took the best years of my life.
Yeah.
He took away all of my sexual freedom.
Right. And so many other things are lost along with the sexual freedom. Like, I wish I could tell you blossomed as an intellectual anyway, but no, you lost your intellectual freedom also. Like, it's never just your sexual freedom that you lose, right? You lose so much else along with it, tangible and intangible.
I got together with Isel. He promised me sexual freedom.
Right.
Why did I do what I did in basically imposing this kind of slavery, this kind of sexual slavery, in the way that I did with these online relationships that I did?
Right.
I think it's a fucked up aspect of human nature that is also evil. This kind of slave master ownership relationship. Yeah, for most of human history, slavery has been part of life. But now today, for the most part, it's eradicated. But we still impose it on each other, and we love it. We make it into something that's so beautiful. Oh, let's throw the most beautiful party and spend tens of thousands of dollars on weddings is normal. But it is really the consecration of this mythology that one person is beholden to another person's genitalia for the rest of their lives. That's really it. That they can never even express to the other person that they have sexual desires for other people. That's the kind of relationship that I was in for so many years, and I had the opposite granted to me just by meeting Isel, by starting a relationship with him, and I didn't know what to do with that. I really fucked up. I completely fucked it up. So I am coming from somebody, my perspective on this is coming from somebody who has been in a long-term monogamous relationship during the best years of her life, during the years of her life where she could have become anything she wanted, and that relationship ruined my life. And then I decided to ruin my own life in my relationship with Isel. So that was a completely different situation. That was a non-monogamous relationship. That was a polyamorous relationship in which I had the freedom to express to my partner my sexual desires for other people. Yeah. And it had been so ingrained in me that was wrong. That even when he told me, I was upset when he told me that he had sexual interest with other people, because I felt like that was wrong.
You
How
were-
can that be wrong when you're telling me the honest truth?
You were upset sometimes. That was the other thing. It was always intermittent. It came and went. There were times when you were thrilled and excited. You know, and again, you're bisexual. There were times when you were excited because you wanted to have sex with the same women I wanted to have sex with. So I'm just giving you credit. If you had been consistently opposed to it, we wouldn't have been in a polyamorous relationship at all. So it wasn't all, one thing or the other. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. When I first learned that like polyamory is an option,
Right.
it totally revolutionized my thought process on it, and I thought, wow, I'd been lied to my whole life. Like, monogamy is a scam. It's a swindle. It's something that is seen as so wonderful, but really leads to so much misery. And so many marriages end in divorce. So many people are cheating. I'm not saying that polyamory is easy. I'm not saying that having a polyamorous relationship even means that the person won't cheat on you, because look at me, I cheated on Isol. So, I certainly, no system is perfect, but I do think that if we're actually living with the real consequences of, like, the scientific knowledge that we have, like, why would we choose monogamy? Why? Like, why would we choose that as the default?
Well, even if in the ancient world, again, let's say 3,000 years ago, people were not really capable of understanding birth control, how to have sex reliably without it resulting in pregnancy, those kinds of questions. People couldn't understand fertility and infertility, so they didn't know where babies came from in a scientific sense. Okay, even if some of these social systems of monogamy, which were many and varied, it wasn't one thing in the ancient world. You can read Herodotus. Well, guess what? Right now, what we're doing is fundamentally perverse in the same way as the sport of boxing. Like maybe a fist fight when it's actually to defend your life. Maybe a fist fight in the middle of a battlefield in war is one thing. But to do this as a sport, to entertain a crowd, in every way, even psychologically, the bloodlust and so on, you're stirring up. It's a terrible thing to do.
No, also, I wonder, just, you have this background in Buddhist philosophy. You have this background in reading many different sources, ancient texts. So you've read Herodotus. You've read sources from ancient India, and I think your perspective on it, I respect. I don't know why I should respect the average person's views on this, but it's very hard to go against what the norm is, and I do understand that, but I'm vegan, okay? I live in a world where 99% of the people around me are doing something I consider evil. So I also live
and they're doing it 3 times a day.
I live in a monogamous world, de facto. I live in a world where most people are getting married and they never have sex with somebody else. So, and if they do, then it usually leads to divorce. Which I
want to ask this question about your own history of cheating on me, but very briefly. So it's a segue to get back to just the same point you're making, in a profound sense. Why couldn't you have been having lighthearted fun when you were cheating on me, right?
Yeah.
That's what, if I had never seen the original messages, I might have assumed that. I say, oh, well, she was cheating on me and they must have just been joking around and having a fun time. Nope. When you were cheating on me, it was this unbelievably grim, serious discussion about marriage and having children. It was very monogamous. People.
Oh yeah, no, I seriously despise myself for even talking that way with somebody else.
I know.
I was still going through this rejection of monogamy in a sense that I was not able to fully just say to this other person, no, monogamy is wrong. It's not just something that you choose and I choose polyamory. I was not... if I felt that way at the time, I didn't express it like that. I was really of the opinion, which a lot of people are in America, that you can have freedom of religion, whatever creed you think is
the old different strokes for different folks approach to life,
and I'm very, very much the opposite of that now. I don't think that monogamy is right for anybody.
But what I wanted, so about this we agree.
Yeah.
And that came up the last time we went to a polyamory meeting, an ethical non-monogamy meeting. We really differed from the other people there. Everyone else in the meeting wanted to believe that you're born special if you're polyamorous. You're born special if you're into this non-monogamous. Like, and for you and I, it was like, right. They wanted to believe it was like being born gay or something like this.
Yeah.
And we said, no. From our perspective, this is 100% of humanity we're talking about. It's just that people are committed to religions and ideologies and creeds and political beliefs that make them live a lie. Yeah. They wear a mask, but underneath the mask, we're all equally polyamorous at heart, sort of thing. So that was our approach. It was a striking contrast to everyone else at that meeting. Some of them people had decades of experience in the lifestyle, as people like to say.
Yeah.
My point is this: very broadly, we have this prejudice that anything lighthearted and fun is shallow and unreal and insincere. And it's not. Those are two different things. You could have sex with somebody you do not love, and it can be wonderful, and it can be lighthearted, fun, and it can be positive. Everyone, it doesn't have to be traumatic. You can be in love with someone, but you don't want to marry them. You don't want to have their baby. It can be lighthearted fun. You can love someone that you see 2 days a year. 2 days a year you meet up with this person. They live in Japan. You live in America. There's someone, and you have a meaningful, loving relationship with them, but they're not your husband. They're not your wife, and they're not, they are not the person you imagine you were going to go to heaven with after you die or be reincarnated with. Yeah. It's not laden with these assumptions. Like my point is already, just sex can be lighthearted and fun, and people need to learn to appreciate, in a sense, the seriousness of that. Yeah. The gravity that isn't something inferior to burdening sexuality with, frankly, ideas of immortality, and ideas of commitment to marriage and having children.
Right.
And what you did when you were cheating on me was you took something that could have been lighthearted and fun, it could have been not serious, and in a kind of fetishistic way, you burdened it with marriage, pregnancy. You increased the risk, you know what I mean? You increased the level of threat and fear and consequence for something that could have been totally inconsequential. Ultimately, it was just masturbation. It was masturbation on camera. Most guys who pay a cam whore to masturbate and who masturbate themselves, they do not burden it with this kind of monogamy fetish, and indeed reproductive pregnancy fetish, or whatever that you brought into your own infidelity.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I actually do appreciate what you're saying here, that I think we have to, instead of normalizing polyamory, I think we should abnormalize monogamy and see it as a fetish, because what could be more restrictive than preventing somebody from never even admitting to their partner that they find another person sexually
That's right. You have to lie even about the perception of other people. That's right. You have to lie about your feelings. You have to lie.
Yeah, and I know my ex-boyfriend who claimed to be a monogamous angel throughout our relationship, saying, "No, I can never find anybody else attractive while I'm with you. You're the apple of my eye. You're the love of my life. I only have eyes for you. You're the most beautiful woman in the world." Right. All of that was just flattery. It was just bullshit. And it was revealed to me at the end of the relationship just how much that was bullshit. He expressed to me with anger, with indignation, that when he was, playing bass guitar at these shows, that other women tried to hit on him, tried to sleep with him, and he turned them down, and he said, I was attracted to other women when we were together, but I never acted on it. And he was just lying to me. It's like, of course, he's a human being. He's a mammal. Yes, he smoked a lot of weed. He did other drugs, so maybe his sex drive was lower than it could have been. Absolutely. But still, I think he was lying to me the entire time just to manipulate me.
Right.
And it worked. And sadly, it fucked up my life. It fucked up my psychology. It was somebody I knew from the age of 17. So 17 to 24, those were formative years for me, which could have been lighthearted in university. I could have had multiple different sexual partners in university. I turned down men while he was still actively, with having sex with other women. At the start of when I knew him. So it's just such bullshit that he was making me feel bad the entire time for having ever even kissed another man. I'd never touched a penis before I was in my first relationship. Right. Never once.
So
like,
let me point out an imperfect parallel. You know, you have seen many women who basically offer to have sex with me. Let's just be blunt. And then there's a turning point where they say, and I think in every single case, this is before they had sex with me, and then we don't have sex. There's a turning point where they say they can never be happy unless I break up with you, and they become my primary partner.
Yes.
Now, again, when you look at this, what is easy, about sex and love being lighthearted fun? Is that really at a lower level of detachment, a lower level of intelligence, a lower level of sophistication? Like, I think you could look at any one of those women and say, look, if you were capable of appreciating what this guy Zell can bring into your life, intellectually, emotionally, politically, creatively. And again, some of these women are like comedians who could work with me on a video or whatever. Like, some of them are vegan activists. Like, this is going over many years and whatever. Some of the women who respected me for other reasons. Some of the women who respected me because of Buddhist philosophy. They got mentioned. Whatever. These are women who want to be a part of my life in some sense, but they can't just enjoy it. It can't be lighthearted fun. Just as in the same way that you had to ratchet up your flirtation with Abhishek, you're being a cam whore for him, you're masturbating a cam whore, until it's laden, it's burdened with all these expectations about marriage and pregnancy and childbirth. Like, okay, before even the first date, you are telling me that the stakes have to be so high that they have to be my primary partner. They have to take over being a mother to my daughter from my first marriage. I'm divorced with a daughter from the first marriage. Like, whoa. So I know, again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I think that people are deeply conditioned to imagine that sex is only good, it's only moral, it's only pure, it's only well-intentioned if it's connected to marriage, procreation, childbirth, raising kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what sanctifies sex. And that any other kind of sex, like, for example, if it's lighthearted and fun, right, that they run away from that in fear.
Yes.
Right. And then in the same way, even love. So now we're not talking about just sex. I mean, I said, whatever. I mean, for me, it's not. It is not just sex. But I can love someone. I can have a really meaningful, loving relationship with someone that lasts 10 years or lasts 60 years. But that is not a woman who is my wife. That's not a woman who's my primary partner. That's not a woman who's the mother to my child. It's just a different kind of relationship.
Why does the husband, why does the wife, why do these need to be everything?
That's right.
Why does it need to be the only?
Right.
That's my question for you guys. Why is it that people see it this way? That, okay, if you love somebody,
right,
you can only love this one person.
Right.
Why is that? And is it because people are too stupid? Like, is it fundamentally, was I too stupid to just understand? Like, if I love you, Eisel, I can be honest with you about my feelings with other people. Was it just stupidity?
We've been talking to a married woman in the past few days. And let me just ask the question. Is it possible for her to respect me without disrespecting her husband? Is it possible for her to love me and not stop loving her husband, or love her husband just as much or love her husband more?
That's what I'm wondering too.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't just think it's possible. I think it's inevitable. I think you can't fight it. I think that married woman does respect me and does love me and wants to be a part of my life, and I want to be a part of her life. And it's tragic because everything has to be burdened with these terrible monogamous assumptions.
Yeah, in a sense, I love her too, and I want to be a part of her life too. I want her to be in my life too.
Yeah.
So it's upsetting, but I have to accept it. A lot of people, they can't.
I just want to say, I haven't used the word happy once in this conversation. I don't think you have either. Like, it's interesting because for us, it's really not about happiness. You don't know what's going to make you happy until it's too late. But we know about justice and injustice. We know about freedom and we know about slavery. We know about trust and distrust. We know about respect and dignity and honor. We know about love. You can love someone and it makes you miserable. I mean, love does not equal happiness, people. Like, come on, grow up. Some people may be watching this who are 15. If you think being in love makes you happy, press fast forward on your, MP3 player. Sooner or later, you're going to hear a song about how being in love does not make you happy. Are you kidding me? This is the curse of the gods. Love, brought Zeus to his knees. Love ruined Zeus and Hera. Not even the gods, are immune to Cupid's bow. So no, love is more often tragic. Love. There's no reason to assume love will make you happy. But
you're right. You're absolutely right.
The fact that you respect me doesn't mean you're running out of respect for some other man or for some other woman. The fact that you love me doesn't mean you're running out of love for some other man or some other woman.
I think so too, as long as everybody is honest. But I know what it's like to not be honest.
Yeah.
And I know from the other side that no, that's why I asked about just stupidity. Does it take a certain amount of intelligence to understand how to be respectful to more than one person to have a polyamorous relationship? Does it take just, it's not intelligence, but just being a morally good person, just ethical, like knowing how to be honest with everybody involved?
What if it's courage? What if the problem is most people are cowards? What if you have to be brave? You have to be willing to suffer as opposed to clinging to a notion of happiness, laziness.
Yeah, I think courage has something to do with it here. I really do think so. And I remember you made a video, I'm not sure if it was a comedy video, I'd have to go back and watch it, but you were talking about if you really love somebody, you're willing to embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
So it's, you might have, if you were a different person, or if you hadn't built up the kind of honesty and, ability to talk about your feelings the way that you had before you met me, you might have felt embarrassed to tell me about your feelings for other people.
That's right.
But you had the courage. You weren't a coward. You were honest from the very start. You said, no, I am never going to lie to you. I don't lie to women. I don't lie to anybody.
That's right. You
were honest with me. You said your feelings about people that you'd been speaking with before you met me, during our relationship. You've been honest with me about all your conversations. And I was a coward. I didn't tell you how I felt because, in part, there was some part of me that knew how stupid my feelings were, how wrong I was. If I'd really been honest with you about my feelings about any of these guys, I think you would have just said, Melissa, this is a terrible idea, and talked me through the disadvantages of knowing these people, of getting involved in these people's lives.
The particular guy.
And you would have been absolutely right. You would have been 100% right. And I would have just had to say, yep, these are not, it's just...
This is not the right guy for the job.
Yep. Yeah, and it shows that short-term thinking resembles evil. It becomes evil. By the time I was actively pursuing other partners, I was 27 years old, and I was thinking, time's running out. If I'm going to actually be finding another partner before I'm too old,
right?
If I'm going to have sex with a third man in my life, or just a third person, man or woman, then I really need to get on this. And instead of just being honest with you about how I felt, instead of saying, look, I don't really have that many options here. Being honest with YouTube, I could have come on YouTube
That's
and
right.
said, hey, I'm in an open relationship and
Talent is scarce.
talent is scarce. No, I didn't say that.
A good man is hard to find, and a good bisexual woman even harder.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, things would be totally different today. I'd be a different person if I'd been honest with you. I'd be a
Right.
totally better person if I'd been honest with you, if I'd been honest with everybody involved, if I'd told each of these people that I've been speaking with what I truly thought and what I felt about the people,
Right.
Rather than
But that also takes
misleading everybody.
that also takes courage.
Yeah.
I said the realest thing in the world to this woman the other day. I said, "Look, I'm not in love with you. I've never been in love with you, and I also said I'm not obsessed with you. I'm not that interested. But I want to fall in love with you, and I want you to fall in love with me too. I want to spend time. I want to try. That takes courage." And
Takes courage, yeah.
I knew very well the consequences that could come from saying that, But I also say on a moment-to-moment level, it takes a certain kind of courage to really think through the wrong thing to do. To think through, okay, there are 3 or 4 different options I have here. Maybe 3 of the 4 are bad and evil and wrong. To think it all the way through and then decide to do the right thing. That there's a kind of courage within your own private thoughts of letting yourself think it all the way through and then resolving to do the one thing that's right.
Thinking is one thing, but speaking with other people about it too is another.
Yes.
You talked with me about the different options.
For most people, it is so hard to say a sentence beginning with the words "I want," to make very clear "I want" statements. And I would mention one of the reasons for that is that in the English language, there's no limit to that in terms of tense and time. If I tell a woman, "I want you, I want to be with you," it means 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? And when a woman says that to me, it has the same sense of finality, gravity, And you use that language all the time when you talk to other men, when you're cheating on me and so on. Everything is forever. Everything is always. Everything is...
Oh, no, it's terrible.
Centuries.
No, I really have become much more aware of how important use of words is. The use of the correct and appropriate terminology and not misleading the other person, which I have done so many times. If you make a promise to somebody, you have to keep it. And if you don't, then you're a terrible person. Words have to mean something. And yeah, for so long I treated them carelessly, recklessly. Yeah.
If you're monogamous, you never learn. You never learn to deal with the things you have been learning to deal with this week, this month, this year. The type of self-knowledge you now have. It was very easy for you to say a few minutes ago, monogamy is incompatible with biological reality. But that's because at age 31, your own biological reality. And most people don't. Most people are wearing a mask and living a lie.